presented by Surrey's webinar on how to complete a SEN 35 form. A SEN 35 is an appeal form if Surrey have carried out an EHC needs assessment but refused to issue an EHCP, or you've had an annual review and the LA have refused to amend, are ceasing the EHCP, or you've now got the final and not happy with the needs in B, provision in F, and the school named in I. Or it could be that the Surrey have refused your request for reassessment. If you're appealing a refusal to assess, you must complete a different form, a SEN 35A. You would complete the SEN 35 if Surrey have issued a final EHCP and you aren't happy with section F, B, or the school named in I. If the LA have not named a school and only stated type of provision in I, or you disagree with the school named in section I. Where do you get the form from? If you type SEN 35 in a search engine, you will find the form SEN 35, Special Educational Needs and Disabilities Tribunal Appeal Form. Remember to save it with your child's name, date of birth, then the word SEN 35. Page 1 is full of useful information and worth a read. If you're filling the form out by hand, you must write in block capitals. If you're typing onto the form, some boxes will automatically type in capitals. Remember to save it first if you're doing it online. Section 1, who's the appeal about? You should be able to type into these boxes. If you aren't able to do so, you will have either a fill and edit button or an add text button. Section 2, what are you appealing about? This is a list of all of the reasons you could be appealing. So, for example, if you've had an annual review and you have a final EHCP naming type and you aren't happy with the needs in B and the provision in F, you would tick these 5 boxes. If you're appealing section I of the EHCP, you need to provide the full name and full address of the school that you're asking the tribunal to name. If you want to add a second school or type of school, you can also do this by adding a text box, like this example, in the blank area. In the first box, you're confirming you have contacted the school about a place for your child, the date you contacted them and any response you've got. You may need to do an additional sheet, which we'll explain on the next slide. It's best to contact the school in writing via email so you have evidence. If you're appealing for an independent place, you can only appeal if you have written confirmation that they can meet needs and have a place available. If you can't name a school at this stage, you need to state briefly a type you would prefer. So a school that can meet your child's specific speech and language needs, or a school that can meet your child's social, emotional, mental health needs, or maybe a school with smaller classes. You can refer to the EHCP and any reports to support your preference. The additional sheet. Boxes are not big enough, you can write see additional sheet. Then on the extra sheet, you will write the question you're answering, then your answer below. If you're not happy with anything in section C, which is healthcare needs, and section G, which is provision for health, you would tick the first box. If you're not happy with anything in section D or H, which is social care, you would tick the second box. Ticking either of these means your hearing is part of an extended appeal and would be heard over 2 days. Section 3, reasons for appeal. The first box, for example, if you're appealing a refusal to issue, you would write, this is an appeal against Surrey LA's decision to refuse to issue an EHCP for Fred Smith, for example. For contents, which is sections B and F, and a placement appeal, section I, you would write, this is an appeal against sections B, F, and I of an EHCP issued by Surrey LA in respect of Fred Smith. The second box, I disagree with the description of special educational needs. If you're wishing to request any changes in section B of the plan, this is where you would list them. This may be on an additional sheet. You can also state that a list of changes will follow. The third box, I disagree with the specification of special educational provision. If you're wishing to request any changes in section F of the plan, this is where you would list them. You may need to make a general comment about why F is not a true reflection of your child. It may be because section F is not specified and quantified, so not detailed. There may be words such as would benefit from, access to, regular, may like to consider. If you're unable to say what the details of support needed are as independent reports are needed, then state this. You can also ask for a reassessment at this point. The fourth box, the LA have not considered. If you believe that LA have not considered other facts about your child's case when they made their decision, i.e., if you feel that didn't take into account specific reports or section of reports, or your child has been out of school or has medical needs, for example. The fifth box, I disagree with LA's choice of school, which is section I. If you think the named school can't meet needs or is the wrong type of school for your child, then this is the opportunity to say the reasons why you believe the school can't meet the child's needs. You might wish to look and highlight anything in the EHCP you might feel the named school can't provide. So maybe the school's too big, unsuitable environment, lacks specialist staff, lack of suitable peer groups, there may be too many girls over boys, lack of specialist facilities, your child won't cope, for example, but you need to state why. State if you think it's the wrong type of school or the school is too distant from your home. State the miles and how long it would take. The sixth box, I prefer my choice of school because this is the opportunity to say the reasons why you would like your preferred school to be named on the plan. You might wish to highlight anything in the EHCP that supports your preference. If you want education other than at school, EOTAS, Section I should be left blank, but all the provisions should be specified and quantified in Section F. Section I should blank because you are in fact saying that no school is appropriate. We have information on an EOTAS on our website. Section 4, reasons for asking for a recommendation for health and social care. You only complete if you're appealing health and social care elements of the EHCP. Same with this section. Please note that the tribunal can only make recommendations for these sections. Section 5, making the appeal. In the first box, you write Surrey County Council. In the second, you write the date of the letter that gave you the right to appeal. You must have this letter to appeal. If you don't have this or it is not dated, you will have to contact your case officer to get another copy. The SEN 35 form must be completed within 2 months of the date of the letter or within 1 month of the mediation certificate, which we will speak about in a moment. Late appeal or no mediation certificate. If you're completing SEN 35 form late, you must complete this section. If you're appealing Section I only, you do not need a mediation certificate. You must tick this box and explain in the box that it is only a Section I appeal. If you're late appealing both sections B and F, then the mediation company, which is called Global Mediation, will not issue a certificate. So you can tick the I do not have a mediation certificate box and explain why you were late. It may be because you didn't understand the process, you've been ill, or under the impression the case officer was making the changes you wanted. This section is about your details. If there are 2 of you, so mum and dad, you will complete the first and second person's details. Please do make sure the email is in an active account. Section 7, who else is involved in the appeal? The first box, if any other person or organisation shares parental responsibility, add their details here. The second box, write here if you believe they should not receive the details of the appeal and explain why. The third box, if any other court or tribunal has made an order concerning your child, including the family court, you must provide the details. Advocate. If you're a young person making appeal, you do not need an advocate, but you could have one to help express your views. It may be your parent. You don't need to have an advocate, but it's an option if you feel that you need someone to talk on your behalf. The advocate needs to know you're adding their details. Your representative. You can do this yourself. Courts are family friendly. Provide details of your representative if you have one. You don't need to have one to appeal. You can pay for legal representation through a solicitor or law firm. They will prepare and present your case at the hearing. You can also contact IPSI, who may be able to help, and there's also SOS SEN who will charge a nominal fee. Centre by Surrey will only provide representation at a hearing if your parent or young person is not able to do them so themselves. Some parents are eligible for legal aid. Your legal aid will help with certain elements of the preparation for appeal. It will not provide a lawyer for the hearing, except in very exceptional circumstances. You can check if you're eligible for legal aid using this website. Who should receive information about the appeal? Tick one box for the person who will receive all of the information. Section 8, the hearing, your needs and requirements. You would tick yes if you have any needs or if you require a signer or interpreter. Section 9, paper hearing. Paper hearing means that the tribunal judge and other tribunal members will only consider the written evidence in private, and you do not need to attend a hearing. Do you give consent to the final hearing of appeal being listed on an earlier date if one becomes available? It is worth ticking yes here. Section 10, checklist. You must have all the documents listed in this section for your hearing to be registered. Remember, if it's only a Section I appeal, you do not need a mediation certificate. If you do not have the decision letter from Surrey, remember to get this from your case officer. Ensure Section 2 is completed. Attach a copy of your EHCP and all the reports and documents listed in Section K. If you do not have these, you will need to get these from your case officer. If you're appealing a refusal to issue, you obviously won't have these. Ensure the form is signed and dated. Section 11, this is where you type your name in and put the date. Section 13 gives the postal address where you would send any copies of your reports, not the originals, and also send it recorded delivery. There is an email address, send@hmcts@gsi.gov.uk on the form, but we'd also advise sending it to send@justice.gov.uk. This second address is where you will send everything from now on. Email is the preferred method of communication, and the subject box needs to say New Appeal. This is the last page. You need to list all the documents you're sending with the appeal form, the date of each document and the number of pages, its author if known, and if it's not obvious, why the document is irrelevant. The EHCP and reports in Section K must also be listed. What happens next? You should receive an automatic reply from Sendist when you send off the form, and then after about 10 working days, you should have notification that your appeal has been registered. Good luck.